Hey everyone, it's Nate here with Element Van Life. First off, I want to thank you guys. Yesterday I hit 1,000 subscribers on this channel here, and that's something that I didn't think I would do so quickly and didn't think would happen so quickly. So thank you guys so much for all your support and everything that you've done so far to support this channel. In honor of that, I want to do a Q&A video. This is going to be my first questions and answers type video. I'm going to start doing these on Tuesdays. I don't know just yet if it's going to be every Tuesday or every other Tuesday. I kind of need to see based on how many questions I'm getting in the comment section. So the way it's going to work is, I'll post these videos up every Tuesday or every other Tuesday, and then from there, just post your questions in the comment section, and then I'll be able to answer them in the upcoming video. The next time I make a video for Q&A purposes. So I'm going to try to stick it, and keep it on Tuesdays. Tuesday's a good day for me to do this, so it should work out pretty well. I really think that the Q&A is just a really great way to share some information and to get a lot of information out there. A lot of folks ask me a lot of really good questions, so definitely a good way to get a lot of information out there and share some of my experiences with you guys. So, all right, so let's get started here. I wrote down a bunch of questions just here on my computer, so take a look. The first one that I got was asked by Snork P, and he asked, how does the van life affect your relationships, platonic and romantic? So things obviously, it does certainly have an effect on that sort of thing. In terms of like existing relationships, most of my friends that I had previously are totally open to the idea. They're totally okay with it. My family, on the other hand, as I've mentioned in some previous videos, is really not okay with it at all. But they still talk to me, and they still acknowledge that I'm here and that I exist. So it's okay. I talk to them on the phone and stuff like that. So it is what it is. In terms of new relationships, for me, I really think the most important thing with meeting new people is to kind of just own this lifestyle, to sort of be in that position where, you approach the position that I'm in, and when I go and they say, obviously as part of that small talk phase, it's pretty common for folks to just be like, so where do you live? You just moved here. Where do you live? They want to know what part of town I'm living in, where I'm hanging out. And at that point, more times than not, I'd say 90% of the time, I'm completely upfront with them, and I just tell them what's going on, why, what I'm doing, that I'm living in a van. And the importance of going into that sort of a situation and not saying like, oh, I live in a van. Oh, you have to approach it. At least I find that I want to approach it in a way that, that is very enthusiastic and very positive. So, I'll tell them straight up that, yeah, I converted my Honda Element into a custom camper. It's pretty cool. It's got a sink. It's got all these unique features. And then I take out my phone and I show them pictures of it, and I even maybe show them the YouTube channel that I've got, and they're really excited about it. They're like, oh, that's so cool, And most people react in that way. Maybe when I leave, they're not, they're like, oh, that kid Nate lives in his van, or so. I don't know, probably not. But I find that the way that I approach it and the way that I explain it to people is the best way to kind of introduce it to folks, and just to be honest and open with them. Romantic relationships, I haven't had too much experience with that so far. I mean, like I said, I've only been doing this for about 3 months now, so I haven't really had too much experience with that just yet. But I'm confident that if I just keep doing what I love and and keep pursuing my dreams and my lifestyle here, I'm going to find somebody who is also interested in that similar kind of lifestyle, and then we'll see what happens from there. But another question that I get a lot, so this one came from Nusquam Living. He asked, do you have 24-hour, 7 days a week gym membership for showering and everything? And he also asked if I have a small stove. I do have a small stove. To answer that part of the question first. It's just a single burner propane stove. So far, I've really only been using it to boil water and to make things like ramen noodles or like oatmeal or something like that. I haven't really done too much with cooking with it yet, but I'm getting a fridge pretty soon. I actually already ordered one, so once I get that fridge, I'm going to start cooking a little bit more, because I'll be able to keep leftovers a little bit easier. I won't have to worry about them getting waterlogged or getting ice all over them and stuff. So I will start cooking, and I'll make some videos, of my cooking experiences here in the Element as well going forward. In terms of the gym membership, I do not currently have a gym membership. I really thought that I was going to need one when I got out here, and I found that I really haven't really needed it so much. I think my situation is a little bit different from the average person, though. So when I was in New Orleans, I definitely had a gym membership. I was using that all the time because New Orleans is very humid and sticky and kind of gross. But out here in San Diego, I'm in the ocean every single day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. So I'm constantly in the ocean. So in order for me to keep myself from being salty or being a little sandy, I would have to shower, 3 or 4 times a day in order just to keep myself from that position. So, and I don't mind being a little salty and sandy. That's why I moved here, was to get nice and salty. So for me, paying for a gym membership, which is pretty expensive. There are a few options. I know a lot of you guys have suggested a couple of options, like Planet Fitness is very cheap. The problem with that for me is that Planet Fitness is like a half hour inland from where I work and from where I've been staying for the most part. So, all of a sudden that $10 a month is becoming $4 in gas every single time I want to just go take a shower. So unfortunately, Planet Fitness won't really work for me out here in San Diego, but there are a couple other options. I've checked out a couple other ones, done like a little like day, you can do like a day pass type thing to explore them. And those are pretty cheap actually. So I do that every once in a while, just a little day pass, but to pay $50 a month for a membership, it seems kind of crazy. There's public showers everywhere all throughout San Diego. So I do take advantage of those and use those pretty frequently. And then, like I said, I'm in the ocean almost every day, so I'm constantly being rinsed off. I can't really ever get too sweaty because I'm always in the ocean. I'm going to make a whole separate video in the future about personal hygiene and like keeping the van clean, keeping myself clean, that sort of thing, because there's a lot of information to be talked about in there. So Mary Spicer asked a couple of really, really good questions here, and thank you for your comments, Mary. They're very encouraging. I really appreciate the kind words. And so there's a whole bunch of questions in here that I'm going to go over from her that are really, really good questions. So one of them is my thoughts about a fridge versus an electric cooler. For me, I did a lot of research on the fridge. I actually ended up choosing a Dometic fridge. It's a kind of a smaller one. I don't think they manufacture it anymore, but it looks like they had a bunch of overstock ones, so I got a pretty good deal on it. And it's a little compressor fridge. It's about the same size as my cooler now, so I should have plenty of space in there for me. And the difference between a standard compressor fridge, a 12-volt compressor fridge, and an electrical cooler is that the fridge uses a lot less electricity. I mean, that compressor, when it's running, for the one that I'm getting, uses about 2.8 amps, but it only runs 20% of the time. So we're looking at, 15 minutes out of the hour sometimes where it'll be running. That would be 25% of the time. So, worst case scenario, that's using well under 1 amp hour of energy. So for me, that was definitely something that was necessary. Now, obviously, the compressor fridge is a lot more expensive than just your standard electrical cooler, but for, the electrical coolers are less efficient. They use anywhere from 4 to 5 amps based on the research that I did. So that's that's as much as 4 or 5 times as much electricity. My system would not be able to support that at all. But a compressor fridge, I think that my system will be able to support just fine. So that's kind of why I chose to do that and prefer that. For the extra $200 that it was to buy a compressor fridge versus to buy, an electrical cooler, I think that it's definitely something that was worth the extra investment. And then also the electrical coolers, they only cool at 40 degrees below the ambient temperature. So if it gets above 80 degrees in my car, then all of a sudden it's above the temperature that I'm going to keep the fridge at, around 40. So another thing to take note of. So you also asked here, let's check here to see what else I have. So you asked about being hooked up to shore power. I've never been hooked up to shore power before at any time. So, even when I've been camping, I've always just kind of camped in like tent campsites and stuff like that in campgrounds. So never have I hooked up to shore power. I do carry an extension cord with me in case I guess I ever was in that situation. I have one, but for the most part, I've never hooked up to shore power before. And thoughts on the Ford Transit van for a little more space. I like the Transits a lot, and I don't really want more space currently, but I guess if something were to happen to the Element, which probably will happen at some point in the future, hopefully, fingers crossed now for a little while, but I'm interested in the Transit Connect as a potential option, which is the smaller version of the bigger Transits. I also like the Nissan NV200 as well, which would offer a little bit more space than what I've got here in the Element, but not too much more, but a little bit more. And that same, excellent fuel economy. They think they get like 27 or 28 miles to the gallon highway. So definitely something that I would consider moving forward. But hopefully won't have to think about that for a while. That's kind of something I don't really want to think about for a little bit. Regarding the tape on the solar panel, you asked about what kind of tape I use to secure the solar panel. It's 3M VHB tape. VHB stands for very high bond. And I actually put I think there's a link, an Amazon link, just in my solar panel video to that particular kind of tape. But you can find it on Amazon, just 3M VHB. It's all over the place. Really, really high quality stuff. Very, very difficult to just peel off. It definitely takes some effort to get it off the roof when I finally decide to move that solar panel. But again, hopefully that won't be for a little while as well. Regarding the panel, I decided on the HQ Solar Flex panel. It's the same one as my 50 watt, same company that made it, but it's just the 100 watt version. And I think those are some sort of, they were originally made by Rhenergy, and then Rhenergy had issues with them being defective, so they sold them to different companies, and the companies went and made the updates to them to kind of prevent them from being defective. Hopefully I don't have any problems with it moving forward. Some of the other questions that Mary asked here, let's go take a look at this. She said, when you're traveling warm climates, how do you stay reasonably comfortable in terms of air temperature and ventilation? And how do you keep your laptop and cell phone from getting too hot inside? So my first part to answer that question is I really don't go to warm climates. I've kind of tried to avoid them. So I was in New Orleans, through March, middle of March or so, and I noticed that it was starting to get warm. It was starting to get muggy. The rain was starting to pick up, and I know through April we got a lot of bad rain over there in New Orleans. So I wanted to get out. I wanted to get away from that climate. I kind of fled the weather that I knew was about to hit. And I'd lived in New Orleans for years and years, so I kind of knew exactly when it was going to start to get kind of crazy, and I was ready to move on. I was ready to get out here and start heading out west and find some cooler weather and so on. So keeping my laptop and cell phone inside. I mean, my cell phone is pretty much always on me, so I don't really worry too much about that. That's pretty much always on my person. The laptop I usually just keep in my bag, and I kind of hide it in the shade anyways to keep it out of sight. And when it's in the shade, it doesn't really get too hot. I'm also not really away from the car that often. I'm usually, I'll go a couple hours maybe where I'm away from the Element, but for the most part, I'm either in the Element hanging out, or I open up the windows and I'm moving to a different place, or moving around from place to place. So for the most part, it doesn't really get too hot in here anyway. So definitely something that I keep in mind. He also asked about what I use to shoot a lot of these videos and what sort of material I'm using. So I pretty much shoot everything on my phone, guys. It's an LG G4 Android phone. It's got an excellent camera and a really, really good video quality for shooting footage, 1080p and everything like that. So I use that for a lot of stuff. I also use a GoPro Hero 3 Plus Silver Edition for some of the other shots that I get. Like in my skiing video, I have some shots from there, and then any of those like dash shots that I have, those are usually with the GoPro, just because it has that wide-angle fisheye lens, so it gets can capture more of what's going on in the surrounding area. So I do use the GoPro as well. In terms of like video editing, I use for the most part just Windows Movie Maker. I'm thinking about maybe getting some other software for it, just because Movie Maker isn't really super super advanced or anything like that. But it actually, it's done a pretty good job. I don't mind it, and I'd used it before for a bunch of projects and stuff, so I felt pretty comfortable with using Movie Maker. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the questions that Mary asked. So let's move on to the next one here. This Midnight Medicine asked, how are you learning web development and programming? For example, are you taking any classes online, through a university, or using websites and so on? So I'm not really taking any formal classes. I haven't paid hundreds of dollars in tuition for a class or anything like that. I do use Udemy.com, which is a really, really good website for that sort of thing. The way it works is you pay, I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but you pay $20 or $30 or sometimes $40 for a course, and you get access to hundreds of videos and all sorts of information that somebody put together, which that person then sells on the website. So that is really, really useful for learning. I've done stuff, I took a course with that, just like a complete web developer course that went over a bunch of different, programming languages and stuff like that. And then also YouTube, guys, YouTube is an amazing resource for learning anything. I taught myself how to play guitar on YouTube. I taught myself how to code on YouTube. So, there are a lot of great design courses out there, a lot of great coding courses as well, all throughout YouTube. So I've used a lot of YouTube. And then a little bit of codeacademy.com is another website that has some really good introductory, apps and games and stuff like that to learn different types of programming languages. And then there's little apps that I have on my phone that I've used as well. But yeah, for the most part, it's just using those free resources that are out there and widely available for me. And then practice, from there, taking what you've learned and then starting projects on my own and building apps and building websites and building games and all sorts of things. And that's how I continue to get better at it over time. And I've done a lot and I've worked hard so far, but I definitely have a long way to go with coding, and there's a lot that I need to learn. So. And another question that I have here, Don DeCoste asked, you mentioned another idea is to put, for the cooler situation that I was going through, another idea is to put food in a large container to keep the water from getting on it, glass container as well. He asked if I have any sort of containers or anything like that. I don't currently, and that's probably part of the problem. Those are good suggestions and things that I probably should have thought of in advance. If for some reason the fridge doesn't work out, then I'm gonna have to obviously stick with the cooler until I can get a bigger solar panel. But I'm pretty sure the fridge is gonna work out. I really, really hope it is. Or I could also do like a battery isolator as an alternative to getting another solar panel. But maybe I'll do that instead. But either way, hopefully that doesn't happen and it works out fine, and I don't have to use the cooler ever again. But the idea of getting like a glass Tupperware to kind of keep things sealed and away from the water, I could put like the mayonnaise I spilled all over the place in the last video that I had, and a few other things in there. That would definitely be a good idea. So that's a good suggestion, something I wanted to bring up. Thank you for suggesting that. That's all I have so far, guys, for the questions. Anything else? So moving forward, like I said, I'm going to try to do these videos on Tuesdays, probably at this point every other Tuesday, just because I don't know how many questions I'm going to get, from this video here. But every other Tuesday, I'll do these videos for now. And as it'll work, just post your questions in the comment section below, just like you've been doing. Try to do it on this video here though, so that I don't have to go and scrub all the different videos and find all the different questions. But yeah, post them on this video here, and then I'll answer them. I really think this is a great way to get a lot of information out there. I know I've said that a couple of times, but definitely a useful tool, I think. So, as always, if you guys have any questions, like I said, post them below, and please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you guys in the next video.